Hi there, thank you so much for clicking the thumbnail and being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how I achieve Native American skin tone. So be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Doing the outline freehand, so I'm just putting a center point in the middle of my board there, and I have the center point on my reference image, and from that I work and imagine angles from one area to the other. Now I'm using a 708 Carbothello grey pencil, which is ideal for the pastel matte dark grey I'm using here. Just putting some marks down very lightly to start with, gripping the pencil quite away from the point so it keeps things nice and loose. And it's sort of guesswork really to start with. You're just placing these very fine lines down, just using imaginary angles from that center point, and then you can use the corner of the shape of the area as well, and just imagine the angle of things and to locate where it is. And I'm using my pencil on a horizontal plane, on a vertical plane, so comparing one shape against the other until you get the overall balance. But I'm looking at the whole image while I'm doing that, and to get that sort of feel. So I'm not just fixed on one point and drawing that and then go on to another point. I'm keeping my vision quite open, and you do that by opening the heart, let go of the mind, and just let these movements happen, and you'll find that it just shapes up by itself really. It's just a case of having the sort of confidence just to let go. Now I have quite a lot of videos in my channel on how to do the outline freehand. I'll just shine up a couple of examples on screen for you now. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check out those videos after you've watched this if you want to know more. Here's a selection of pencils I'll be using for the underdrawing. Right, starting the underdrawing by just putting the highlights in there with white first, just locating them. Then decided to just ghost the outline there with the Faber-Castell kneadable eraser. Great tool to have in your kit. And then just basically just going over the outline but reshaping it. I'm adding form now, so I'm just using basic sort of colours there. I'm not really interested in getting the details right or the value or the chroma. All it is just making sure that the shapes are right. So I'm just creating the shapes now, just moving things around, just getting everything prepared for when I put the rich colours in. So it's a really nice stage to do this because it learns you to be loose, and you can enjoy just moving around these shapes to get the right sort of feel. I'll call them shapes because I'm not actually naming anything, so if I don't say, oh, I'm just doing the nose now or the eyes, I'll just see it as blocks of light and shade, and it's best to do that really, and it keeps you relaxed. Then you don't get sort of tensed about doing a certain thing, because people think, oh, I've got to do a nose. You can, you know, freeze with the thought of doing it, or even the eyes. But if you just see it as shapes of light and shade and just enjoy just playing and moving things around, it becomes more fun then. So what I'm doing is just adding the white and a bit of colour in there, and then shape it up, and then just glaze over them with red, lemon yellow, burnt sienna, a bit of green here and there to desaturate it, and brown, and also a little bit of blue here and there. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Just laying in some white here. Like I say, I'm not really that fussed about getting the colour and everything else right at the moment. It's just laying in them shapes. Using blue and orange for the white of the eyes. It's a perfect combination because it creates natural greys. This combination of orange and blue is great for teeth as well. If you ever do some teeth, use blue and orange together, it makes all the difference. Keeping everything nice and basic, just using brown and burnt sienna there, and a little bit of black around the edge. But like I say, I'm not that fussed about getting the value right at the moment. It's just getting these shapes in correctly. Always simplify just basic colours when I'm doing the underdrawing, and then everything subtles up when I start putting the rich colours in. But if you just get that basic form in there, it just makes life a lot easier then when you start doing the next stage. You have to be aware as well not to put too much pigment down. You need to keep that tooth there for when I start putting the richer colours on there. It's just, this is the basic foundation, and what this does, it makes the subsequent layers easier to apply, because this acts as a vehicle, and they go on a lot smoother when we start putting those really vibrant colours on. Just moving the white in all directions, little circles, squiggles, dashes, just to create the sort of texture I'm looking for, and it's all preparation for the next coat, which is the rich colours. Here's a selection of rich colours from the Caran d'Ache, the light flesh selection, and also the dark flesh selection there. Dark flesh from Carbothello, and a selection of pastels I've used earlier. Now the rich colour stage is still a blocking, so what I'm doing now is blocking in more vibrant colours. So I'm looking at more of the values, the chroma, temperature. So that's what I'm working on now with this stage. I'm not interested in getting the details in at the moment, it's just getting everything in place in the right sort of value and the feeling of it. There's no good putting loads of detail in one area if you find out later that it's not dark enough, then you have to sort of redo all the details. So that's why I tend to focus on getting the blocking in first, and then focus on like tidying it up and making it smaller and smaller, the actual subtleties. I'm using dark flesh tint from Caran d'Ache here, just squiggles here and there, just building up that sort of feeling of skin. The skin's not smooth, you see, they've got all sorts of different colours in it, so that's what I'm doing, is just keep building it up, putting light in here. That was the pink white, this is like a yellow ochre mix. I'm mixing them all together to get that subtlety. So with the shadow here, I'm just comparing the shadow under the nose with how much value I should actually create for this area. So I'm sort of comparing tones, if you like, and then trying to create a oneness to the actual study. So I might be working on one little area, then I might go back into somewhere else. So I'm constantly going over the actual study and not being focused just on one area. So I'm trying to get the overall balance. It's a good way to keep relaxed by just focusing on blockings and not being concerned about the details until the very end. Now, to achieve the subtlety of the values and the desaturation of the rich colour you're putting in, I'm adding green with the burnt sienna and then just going over it here with a bit of dark flesh, just to give it texture. And it's a combination of keep going backwards and forwards really. Just slowing it down to real time now, just to show you how I'm just getting these details in with the eyebrows. Just small squiggles, just allow the movements just to happen. Just putting the odd little detail here and there, but just getting a basic feel of it, and then just using the dark flesh just to get the space in between the hairs there. So here's the start of the details stage then, so getting more and more finer with the movements of the pencil, just getting that sort of texture and the feeling of skin. So I'm just going over with different colours. Started off with that sort of yellow ochre mix, now this is a pink mix, so I'm just changing it up here and there. Now it's lighter than I needed, but you've got to be aware that when you glaze over the top it changes the colour, so I always do a little bit lighter first, and then when I glaze it becomes the right shade. So first of all I'm just preparing the feeling of it, and then I'm glazing here just to create more chroma, so I'm adding lemon yellow to make it more glow more, and then adding that warm red which makes it more of an orangey colour. but I have to put that lighter colour underneath, that fresh colour, to make it sort of vibrant, and it seems to shine through then. It gives the skin tone sort of life, and it makes it more sort of realistic really. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all my patrons for their wonderful support every month. I can't thank you enough. It really means a lot to me. If you're considering joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check the link in the description below for more details. So I'm putting these little dots here and there and just getting these sort of shadows in, creating different subtleties, just moving around the subject in different areas, just creating this sort of this feeling of skin tone, but I'm just allowing my instincts to guide me to where I need to work on. So one minute I'll be in one area, next minute I'll be somewhere else, but it all sort of balances up in the end then. So sometimes I can leave something half finished and I need to do another area before I can put the finishing touches to it, just so I can get the right sort of value and the feeling of chroma. Here I'm adding dark green to mix with the reds to create a natural desaturation and shadow of the skin tone. Now I might be using the warm red, the cold red or even the burnt sienna just to get that correct sort of feel I'm looking for. So you have to play with which red's the best and then just keep working on it. And then I'm putting a little bit of lemon yellow to create more of a chroma. Even though it's in shadow, there's areas that are like sort of glowing, so you have to add that little bit of lemon yellow as well just to create that sort of realism. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me, as this would help the channel to grow. Just slow it down so you can see how I'm using the black here. Sometimes you have to use black with pastels, you just can't get the density you would using brown and blue. But I'm using blue over the black now just to subtle it up because the reflections going onto the iris, and then using the burnt sienna in some areas where it's warmer, and just feeling my way, using the brown as well with it. So it's a combination of all these different colours to get the right feel to it. For the highlights I'm using a Faber-Castell white because you can sharpen that to a quite nice point, and it's a fresh white as well, so it really does stand out. Just tinting the iris there with a little bit of white just to line it up a little bit, and just glaze over with the burnt sienna. So it's not always rich colours, you have to create that sort of richness. Sometimes you have to put the white underneath and glaze over the top, so it's hard to get the right sort of feel to it without doing that. That's what I find anyway. If you would like to know more about how I mix shadows for skin tones, I have got a free class and it's available in the description below. Just click the link and it'll take you there. So please check that out after you've watched the video. For the eyelashes there, I'm using the brown to start with. I'm using the edge of the pencil as well, and I keep turning the pencil to find a new edge, and that's how I get these lines. And then just go over with the black when you're happy with the position on it. It's best to do that first, just go over with the brown rather than use the black, because it's easier to move it then, you see, if you need to, if you made a mistake. Now to get the texture on the eyelid there, I'm using the dark skin tone 5%, and it just works well really, that does. I will start using that more in my portraits. I've only experimented with this portrait really, but using the green and again burnt sienna and then a little bit of brown just to create those natural sort of subtleties of shadows. Using the 5% dark flesh tint from Caran d'Ache again just to create these little creases and what have you, and then just glaze over with the burnt sienna and yellow, lemon yellow, just to create a goldy colour. And I'm squinting my eyes, comparing one tone against the other tone as well. Sometimes I need a little bit of brown in there as well just to create the depth, using green and red. It's a combination of all sorts of things just to get that sort of feeling. What gives the portrait or study a sort of realistic look is to create these shadows and values right. If something's not quite right, it's either your values or your edges. So I'm focusing on making sure that things are soft where they're supposed to be soft and sharper where they're supposed to be sharper, and also paying attention to how I'm desaturating the colours to make it look more realistic, and creating that with using the green and the red, different combinations of reds. Just slowing it down to real time again, just so you can see how I'm subtling up these shadows using the dark green here. Little circles, little dots here and there, little movements. So just letting these sort of movements happen. Just being aware, keeping my vision quite wide and comparing one shade against the other, so the side of the cheek there, and comparing how that shade under the nose compares with it, and try to make it similar. So I'm using sort of burnt sienna here with the dark green, which is creating the subtle desaturation. In shadows there's quite a lot of feeling in that. It's not just a dark splash of colour, there's all sorts of subtle variation of shades and temperatures, so you know, it's quite interesting to achieve. Now, to check that everything seems okay is to look in the mirror, look at the reflection and just see it from a different angle, see if there's anything needs to be changed, because it gives you a little bit of a different view of it. You can take a photograph of it or take it into another room, your work, and see how it looks. It's surprising really what you see differently, and then you can come back and put those little finesses to it, because I noticed that this area here wasn't correct, and that was by looking in the mirror. Sometimes it's a good idea to have a break as well and come back to it and finish it off. Thank you so much for watching the video right till the end. I really appreciate it. It does help the channel. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if there's any questions, please leave a message in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But in the meantime, if you want to see more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care. Bye.